Hello everyone, Pastor Jeremy here to give you a message about our Christmas Eve worship services we are offering here at Advent Lutheran Church. If you are planning to worship with us in person on Christmas Eve, we need you to make reservations. This is for both our Century campus and our Melbourne Beach campus. The reason we're asking you to make reservations is because our Christmas Eve services are some of our most well attended by our faith community, relatives, and the community at large. And we need to make sure that we are offering the safest, healthiest, lowest risk possible gathering we can for you and the worship leaders. Since we began in-person worship in early October, we have been following pandemic policies of wearing face coverings, of roping and taping off pews so we make sure we are 6 feet apart and have lower capacity and the such. We will continue those practices for Christmas Eve worship, which means there is much lower capacity for our in-person worship. That is why we need you to make reservations. As hard as it is going to be, if you do not have a reservation for that particular service, you will not be able to worship with us in person. This pandemic has caused us to make decisions and do things that we thought we would never do. And unfortunately, it is the world we live in. But again, for the safety and health of all, we believe this reservation system is the best way to provide in-person worship. Do note that these in-person worship services will be different than our normal full Christmas Eve celebrations. They will be much more simpler with less music. We'll have an abbreviated liturgy message, but we will sing our favorite Christmas hymns and songs. We will light candles and sing Silent Night, even though it will look different than we've done in years past. And we will have communion together, but again, that will look and be different than we've been doing communion lately. Again, all of these procedures are to keep you and us safe. My heart aches that we have to do this, and I hope and pray that we could worship fully together without any restrictions, but again, that is not the world we live in. And I, as your acting senior pastor, would not feel comfortable putting people in that situation. If this in-person worship does not sound like the kind of worship you want to participate in, or if you are not planning on worshiping with us for in-person, I want to let you know that we will have the full Christmas celebration in our worship recordings that will be available on Christmas Eve morning. We will have 4 different worship recordings for you to fully participate in. And again, these services will have the music and the full liturgy and message and communion and candles and singing that we've had in years past. We will have a traditional Century worship recording. We'll have a traditional Melbourne Beach worship recording. We'll have a contemporary Century worship recording. And we will have a paper bag Christmas pageant put on by Miss Joy, our Director of Youth and Family Ministries. We highly recommend, if you are in a high-risk category for contracting COVID-19, we ask you to please worship with these worship recordings and not come in person. Of course, if you're sick and not feeling well, we also ask you not to come to in-person worship, but to worship with these worship recordings. I do know one thing, that no matter how we worship and in what way we worship, I know Christ will be born, Christ will be worshiped, Christ will be present through the Holy Spirit. We will worship this King of Kings, this Prince of Princes, this baby who came down and lived among us, God, Son himself, who came down to take on flesh, to live among us, to heal us, to teach us, and ultimately die and rise for us. This child who ultimately will bring hope to the hopeless, and unconditional love, mercy, and grace and forgiveness for all eternity, for all of humanity. It may not be the way we thought we'd worship this Christmas, but God will be present. God will be worshiped. As always, please contact me if you have any questions or concerns about our Christmas Eve worship opportunities. I wish everyone to stay safe, to stay healthy, to take care, and to God bless.